Okay, so welcome to another Exploring Consciousness with our Earth Nouveau Hub. Today, we're just going to have a no plan a little bit, just checking in and see what's going on with regards to the energies. We just had this huge solar eclipse and obviously still being bathed in all of those energies. And obviously we've got the solstice coming up. And there is so much energy coming in at the moment, and we can probably some perceive it through the bodies. I can feel it, lots of intensity, lots of pains, if you want to call it that, and lots of stuff getting thrown up, and lots of closures, completions, but then again, lots of new beginnings. And lots of that new beginning energy, the way I'm perceiving it, is almost like I can perceive the energy. And it's really exciting, but I don't. Hi, Ellen. Haven't seen you for some time. I don't know yet what it looks like. So how have you guys been getting on with all of that? We're going to take this wherever we want to take this, as usual.
Well, I'll speak then, Martina. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can, darling.
Yeah. It's been a roller coaster, hasn't it?
It has been on so many levels. Watching people, ourselves, right?
It's been, for me, you say like new beginnings, and it does feel like new beginnings, but it also feels like starting from the basics. Almost feels like everything that I've been learning up until this point now has come to a fruition where it's like, right, you can't go beyond the choices that you haven't looked beyond, It's the choices that are right in front of you now in your life that you can ignore in all this time that are the next step. And so it's very much been about an inner journey, looking inward and really focusing on how the mind functions and responds, and what is my own sovereign self and what isn't. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I sense simplicity, right? There's almost that simplicity going back now to stuff and seeing it with new eyes. I know it's a bit of a,
back to basics.
Just back to basics and realizing the magic in the basics. And part of that energy is actually expressed here. We're obviously not going to talk about the book. There's lots of other opportunities, and Andrew will do that. But in the simplicity of the cover and the black and white and everything, because it's really quite interesting. And for me, look, I'm a color girl. So for me, going black and white and going to the basics is has been a challenge. Has been a challenge because it's almost like a slowing down. I had to do quite a bit of slowing down, and I had to practice that. And now I'm really feeling like sort of a completion energy. And I can't really put my finger on that. I work in 3-year cycles. I don't know how you guys, and I did a bit of calendar magic, writing things down, because I thought, what's going on? The old is disappearing completely now. It's not just the people. It's like a separation of the entities, like whoosh, like this, right? Things that I have never opened up my yoga studio after the lockdown. That's gone. It's very interesting. And that's almost, I think I started in 2014. So that's part of that, cycle as well.
I mean, how different does the world look to us now compared to what it did in 2013, 2014? It's a completely different narrative, isn't it? Not just the global narrative, but our own personal narratives as well. Such transformation.
Yeah. Your energy, if I may comment on that, is like that too. I can perceive like, calm.
There's been, how can I say, there were elements of me that can't go any further on this journey that I've struggled to let go of. But it wasn't until I made a choice and realized that choice, I can't go beyond anything until I make a certain choice. So it was really easy to do that. And so there's a big sort of shadow shard that's gone. And so my self-mastery now is almost, it's expressed just walking to the shops and back. Just the way that I perceive the world and the way my parasympathetic and sympathetic is trying to override my peace. and it's just become blatantly obvious. So now it's just very much an inner journey of discovery of who's who. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And
Because all that war is gone, all that fighting I've been doing with myself is gone.
Yeah. Can you guys perceive the energy in him? It's really nice. As soon as you came up, it was like, nice. Some would call that the feminine coming through, because the feminine itself is sort of considered the awakening, right? More the feminine within it. And I feel as well, there has been almost like a heart opening of some sort. Tears, but joyful tears, you know.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
And the word, when you said peace, it came all together just now for me. It's like that fight inside that I had. It was like, I can lay down the sword and I don't need to use a sword anymore to fight that. It does so much more peaceful inside. And with the same thing you said with the new beginnings, I have no idea, but I can feel them.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know. It's just great. Yeah.
There is a dark side to this energy at the moment, though. The solstice, the eclipse and all that hasn't been particularly pleasant. It played out in our personal lives, in my family and people that I've seen, and all this craziness that's going on. But what does seem to be happening is each and every problem that's arising at the moment is a resolution. And this is how it's been made obvious that there are certain things that we just can't go beyond until we see the choices in front of us. And the choices now, in my reality, are being very obvious. You know, you can't just brush it under the carpet anymore. It will just come up and exponentially get more and more obvious and more destructive the more you ignore it. So it requires a lot of vigilance, but contemplation and right action.
You said something earlier on. You said making choices. You made choices. Do you want to say something on that? Because making choices is quite an interesting concept. What does that actually mean to you, making choices?
For me, making choices means that I, as the I am, have made a choice that cannot be changed by any other versions of me or my sympathetic or parasympathetic or the programs. So it's making a choice for this I am and learning the difference between what is a choice and what isn't a choice. What is a forced choice and what is my own co-creative choice.
And you make that choice in your head, or do you write this down? Or
for the first time ever, I'm not going to go into specifics, but for the first time ever, I actually lit a ceremonial fire, opened sacred space, and made a promise. You know, and made an oath. I made an oath, you know, with a timestamp on it and that. But there's no way I'm going to break it. And so as soon as I'd done it, I felt peace.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So that's one way of I've made a choice. But then, you know, it's just choice after choice after choice, isn't it? You know, because I can tell you this, the inner dialogue, what's driven me to that is just the inner dialogue just absolutely waging a war against me, even to the point where my sympathetic and parasympathetic were actually speaking to me. So I'd be sitting there doing whatever I'm doing and the mind's going, and then all of a sudden a thought would spill out as word, and it was from the subconscious, and it was goading me, you know. Oh, that was really good for me, you know, things like that. And so it's been like that. It's been a battle and a war, but now it's just coming down to choice. Fantastic. So if I don't fight, I just make choice. Does that make sense? It's responsibility.
Absolutely, because the fighting energy is not gonna work for us anymore, you know, with all the learnings and teachings that we've had.
But it's difficult to be attacked, isn't it? And when it's one's own body that's attacking you, it's personal and it's constant.
Alan, I see you have your hand up. Let me just say one thing to that fighting thing, because I watched one of AB's shows the other day, and he was talking about sovereignty, taking the energy, the word of sovereignty into the heart, and then from the heart spreading it out all the way into the body, into your auric field.
Yes, and this is something that's I've been guided through as well as it's been going on. So once all this started and I made the certain choices that I needed to make, then in my meditative journey, the system for taking it into the body and actually beginning to emanate sovereignty, yeah, very much just as you've described.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Yeah.
Right.
Hand over.
Alan, yes. Sorry, Alan.
Oh, that's fine. The changes have been very immense. And for me, they started around the 22nd of May, when I just started getting some great energies to make some transformations within my life. They involved financial strategies, things that I haven't done for quite some time, but I have to take a look at where I was and where I wanted to be. And it seemed I started to get images or reflections of a future self calling home now, of a future self that was flowing in abundance and coming back to me and saying, this is how we did it. And it was the incentive for me to make moves, financial moves that I've never done before, but I'm doing right now. Surprisingly, I'm having a little turbulence with my bank in terms of forwarding the funds. It's going back and forth, back and forth. I'm just seeing that as a sign of the universe testing me and the ability to flip the frequency. And one of the great things I'm experiencing now with the choice and part of the synchronicity, part of the validation, is the healing process that I'm now experiencing with in terms of the institutions that I've had to deal with for most of my life, institutions that I despise, and now I can let go of. I can let go of in love. I'm speaking of the banking institutions, the judiciary. I can let them go with love because I can see now how everything relates to one another, why the world is the way it is. I look forward to the future. The future looks bright and positive. And that's some of the synchronicities that I'm now feeling with the choice and choice points that I've made. So it's looking good. It's feeling good. And once when I take my positions, I will be more at that position of ease and peace, just the way Maddie is looking and feeling right now. Maddie, your energies are very strong and very peaceful. And it's nice to see.
Thank you, man. You too.
It's like the monks are coming down from their mountains, right? And integrate nicely in total allowance of the Babylonian money system, of, you know, whatever else is out there, just going with the flow. Who else wants to share what's happening? Caro, you've got your hand up.
I wanted to share something I experienced yesterday. I went to the market to buy some fruit, and there was a mother and a teenager, a feisty teenager, looking through some books. And the teenager picked up a book and showed it to her mom, and she said, "Mom, look, it's a book about crystals. Can I buy it?" And the mom said, "I don't know if, you know, if it's not the Bible, I don't know if I can buy this book." And the teenager looked at her mom and she said, "Well, Mom, look, it has the word," she was speaking Spanish, "cristal. Don't you find it interesting that the word cristal has Cristo in it? It's like female Cristo." And I thought, how this is amazing that I'm experiencing this moment right now, this 15-year-old girl saying this right now, right here. So I was just moved and looked at them, and I was carrying a crystal with me, and I showed it to her mom. And her mom said, "Well, yes, maybe we can buy the book. You know, I would like to see what that has to give to us." And I just left the market feeling such expansion and possibility. And I was just so happy for the rest of the day. In general, I've been feeling very, very much expanded these days, despite the things that are happening on the streets here. So I wanted to share that Krista story.
Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. It's those kids that are going to teach the adults, right? And what a beautiful separation of density. You know, the soul family, that was part of your soul family that you've met, right? Just exchanging that gift. It's beautiful. Thank you.
I found a big separation at the moment, Martina, between those who are doing the inner work and those who are more conspiracy minded. it seems to be that the fear is ramping up on a lot of the people that I used to be able to communicate with on a spiritual level. I find now it's all about forced vaccinations and 5G and all this old stuff being regurgitated. Seems to be a lot of that in the collective, just not feeling any of it.
Yeah, they're going into
and it's separating people now, you know. For the people that have been in my life for a long time are moving out, and it's being done in such a peaceful way as well, you know. It's just like, okay, we have different ideas, but the universe is doing it. It's not required that we really participate.
Yeah,
the separation of densities. Yeah,
it's beautiful to watch that actually, and just see how the frequencies actually do the job for you. It's like you don't even have to say anymore to them, hey, you know, I'd no longer like to talk to you. It just happens.
You've got nothing left to teach. If you're trying to teach people that aren't that awareness, then you're just vampirizing yourself and them. You know, it's no longer necessary. It's for us now to discover what this all means for us.
And you know, also it's not something that is going to remain like that. That can change all the time. So people that you're losing at the moment might be coming back at a later stage. It's very much like that at the moment, just being in allowance of whatever people choose at the moment, and just being open to receive them back whenever they are ready, you know. And I think for me, I find that is such a gift, because it allows you to really look at what is it that you want to choose without having anyone projecting onto you anymore, you know, or
without forced evolutions, Martina. That's what it seems to be for me. It's like, you know, I'm either forcing an evolution or an evolution is being forced on me if I'm not in alignment with, you know, the common moral codes. So, you know, it really, for me, it just feels like I just don't want any more forced evolution. You know, if I'm paying attention and I adhere to other people's levels of awareness, you know, with kindness and humility, then there doesn't seem to be that forced evolution.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's nothing worse than an uncomfortable situation that drives you into a choice. It's always hard work, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, it is hard work, yeah. And now you don't even have to use words anymore. It's really interesting how this this million letter alphabet expresses itself without letters, right? Without having to say anything. It's really is it can we say it is that technology really switching on?
Oh God, yes.
Technology really switching on now.
I tell you, I wasn't sure whether to share this or not, but when I look at my DNA, it seems to be coiled tighter. So where it was before, you know, like that, now it seems to be kind of much tighter coiled. And it's something I was, you know, struggling with because I thought I was making it up, you know, out of ego. But it just seems to be persistent. So there are some incredible changes, especially if you're, you know, someone who perceives the unseen world. It's the infinite of it, you know. You can create anything you want as long as you can imagine it.
Yeah.
And as long as it assists your journey.
Yeah.
It doesn't step on anybody else's journeys.
Yeah. Who else wants to share something along those lines? Along the lines of eclipse energy and solstice coming up, and what's coming up for you guys? And located, Caro is in Colombia, correct?
Just to add what Maddie was saying, I'm just noticing a greater sense of knowingness, an ability to tune in to the intuition that just wasn't there before, that greater sense of clarity. So.
And how does that look like?
It's not so much a look as a feeling.
Feeling, yeah. And
the feelings that I'm getting in terms of connecting to other selves, future selves, higher selves. And it's again, that sense of knowingness. So I'm not stuck. It's just things that I need to do and will be doing as part of my manifestation of my own destiny. I can almost see my destiny, and I'm taking those steps to allow it, to make it happen, just to manifest it.
Fantastic. So there's a sense of trust, right? Trust,
Absolutely.
you know, and that edge of unknowingness is no longer edgy. It's like, it's okay.
I'm already there, so I'm just getting used to playing in that field, and it feels wonderful.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
That's where the self-mastery pays off, you know? That's where you realize what it was all about.
Yeah. And then it becomes so joyful, right? Self-mastery is just fun.
And I wanted to say something to what Alan said about being tested and then flipping the frequency. That's definitely been happening, where those little tests come and I can actually feel my parasympathetic, go, you know, it's talking to me, and then I can flip it. And I know that that's, oh my gosh, I can make a choice, and I don't have to listen to that. It's actually like, I don't know, it was just like freeing. It's like something that I've never felt before, that little voice. And I'm like, oh, you little shit, I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing. And then you make the choice, and it's like, well, that wasn't so bad. Like, you know, it wasn't like horrible, like it was telling you it was going to be. So I like the testing, because that's been happening a lot with me. And they're little tests. They're so little. And it's just those little ones that help build my fortification of myself.
Yeah.
It's like a little brick on brick on brick, and I'm just, you know, building.
So acting and choosing instead of reacting, right?
Yeah, for sure.
How many of your thoughts are actually your own, you know? This is the thing, isn't it? This is what amazes me, is the more that we notice those voices, those inner voices that are making choices for us in our unawareness. When you become aware of them, how frequent and omnipresent they can be. You know, it's like you're constantly having to catch yourself. No, that's not me. Stop. No, you know, program. It's relentless.
Yeah.
It's almost like a metaphor would be like, just like buttons pop off every time. Like, okay, you got rid of that button, got rid of that, you know, not rid of, it might come back, but I know what to do now if it comes back to me. It's like you can just stop it, you know.
Said in layers. You know, AB once said that the Great Awakening is the process of not giving the sympathetic and parasympathetic a moment of your day. You know, reaching that point where you know, it cannot affect you in your day-to-day experience, and that is what the Great Awakening is. Yeah.
Total sovereignty, and the understanding that sovereignty doesn't stop in this reality. Most of I think our battles have actually been with the versions of ourselves, the hidden, the forgotten ones, you know, the stuck ones, and all of those. And they are really, all those precogs, you know, they're all coming together nicely now to actually work with the avatar, you know, and support the avatar.
Turning the universal laws in your favor.
Frequency, harmony, and vibration. Absolutely.
I wanted to share here what I noticed this week is from last week. I've been involved in doing some actual physical work, a lot of physical work since last week. And normally I will do physical work, and by a certain time of day, I'm really tired, and that will carry on until I go to sleep. But what I've noticed between last week and this week is like my energies have returned tremendously, because I do all this work like all day long, and I don't go to bed until like 1 o'clock, and I still have energy. It's like returning to a time past when I was much younger, and I had all this energy. You know, when you're in your youth, you can go dancing all night and you can still stay awake till the next morning. It's like that type of energy has returned. And I don't know if any one of you have noticed this as well. And this is really a great thing.
Yeah, I have lots of connections to the inner child and to other versions of myself, even so much so I've started eating certain foods that I used to eat when I was a kid but wouldn't touch as an adult.
Yeah, I'm so excited that I have all this energy return to me, you know.
And the more you do, the more you get, you see, because everyone's experienced this. When you're feeling lazy and you don't do a lot, you get more lazy. You know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to share that. And something that Alan mentioned before as well, about the banking system. I noticed that I had some business with a particular one, and they actually closed out the business that they had with me, and I was taken by surprise because it was supposed to have gone on for another few years. And I had to call them up and say, what's going on? And they said, oh, we don't have any business with each other anymore. And I'm like, really? And to me, that was wonderful. So that was something that also was tremendous to me and took me by surprise at the same time. But it's a really, really great surprise, you know. It's pleasant. So
they released you from a contract that was
exactly.
expensive for you.
Yes, exactly.
That's fantastic.
How does it happen that? Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's like yesterday I had, Dream World. How are you guys doing in a dream world? Do you remember your dreams more? I had a really good stretch. I was remembering stuff. And then the last 10 days or something, I just grabbed the energy of something's happening with me, with the body. And I couldn't really, some blood cleansing or whatever, you know, I couldn't really. And then I think it was 2 days ago, I had a dream and I was thinking, remember that statement in the dream. Of course, I didn't remember it when I woke up, but it was something like completion. And I woke up and completion. And that was it. I can't remember what completed or not, but I could not wipe the smile off my face the whole day. You know, knowing completion, not knowing what completed, you know. But it was just beautiful. And this is also something to look out for, you know, the singularity in the dream world. How because we're getting to that stage now. Once we stop fighting this reality, we can start really manifesting and using our dream world, the singularity in the dream world, and then bringing it into this duality here and start manifesting it. Because this is available to us with the technology switching on. It's like, you know, and start practicing that. I went on a bus yesterday to deliver something and I thought, okay, 2 hours, 1 hour there, 1 hour back. This is just the way it's going to be. And it literally was exactly that. And in London, you know, guys, you never know. Bus, or there's so much traffic and everything. And that's exactly what I manifested. So little bits and pieces, put yourself little not tests, you don't need a test, but little tasks, that's the word, and see and practice that.
That's what I was talking about. Martina was saying that, like, my self-mastery is equating itself to a trip to the shops. It seems to be in those little moments when, in the mundanity, that the greatest little ideas are coming up at the moment.
The magic lies in in the normal mundane sort of thing.
Yeah. Hologram.
Yeah.
So I had a couple of dreams within the past couple of months, and what I had noticed is that I experience things during the day, and then I would dream about something that was very similar to what I had experienced during the day. So it's like it switched to the opposite. It's not that I'm dreaming it first and then maybe having the experience, but having the experience and then dream about something that is similar to the experience. Anybody had anything like that happen for them?
Sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of. Anyone else?
Well, I might have, because I just had this dream too. So I have this altar that I have at home, and I say it every day, and I do my whole thing, but I have this little girl of me who was like 8 years old, and I have her sitting there. And so I'm doing this every day since, I don't know, January. Maddie helped me with that. And yeah, last night I had a dream. I saw her and we were playing. I didn't know it till I woke up, but we were playing and frolicking, and I go to hug her. I said, I have to go. And I go to hug her, and she hugs me back, and I say, and she said, I love you back. And my heart's just beating. And it's like, and I was on the front porch of my home, and it was like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. So all that healing that I was doing for that 8-year-old girl through these whole months prior to last night, it was like beautiful.
Oh,
So I would say that would be my version
right.
of it.
Resolution, which is sometimes why you dream something and then experience something, then dream it. Resolution.
Yeah.
I've also looked at dreaming again from the gift that it actually is, because if you think of extraterrestrials or extra dimensionals, they can't dream. They don't dream. This is part of experiencing the seventh color of time, is that we have a dreaming body. And everything in this seventh color or eighth color now of time that is within us here on this planet has a dreaming body. So it's almost like, I think we can step it up on the dreaming a little bit, instead of, that's what I was thinking the other day as I read some of that stuff. I thought, instead of just writing my dream down, I would like to add my animals to contribute in the dream time. Or I've just read an amazing book. I started reading the book Entangled Life. Somebody posted it on Facebook, and whoever that was, I can't remember. I'm so grateful for, because Entangled Life by Merlin Sheldrake. It's all about fungi, mushroom, lichen, and things like that. And that was a synchronicity to it, because I don't know if you've seen, I posted a picture. I had all of a sudden appear overnight some lichen on one of my angels outside on the stone figures, and I didn't know what it was. And then I realized, obviously, this is lichen. And then now I'm reading this book about the symbiosis of the algae and the fungus, and the communication of the mycelial network, and on this planet and otherworldly planets and things like that. And mushrooms and mushrooms, we have mushrooms, fungi, bacteria, viruses all inside of us. And I was actually thinking, when we do all these clearings, we do the blood and we do the marrow and we do the organs and everything, but we could actually really start working with the fungi within us. There's also, he's saying in the book, he's saying that 8% of the Earth's surface is covered with fungi.
Yeah, mycelium is like the internet for the trees and the plants, and yeah.
And I've actually started now doing. I had a Bowen client the other day, and I started using the mycelial network for the healing. As soon as I put, because it's everything. You think of the mycelium, it's like a worm, right? And they'll never. If you cut off the head of that flat worm, he's talking about this in the book too, it just regenerates again. And whichever way they're going, it's like going with the flow and extending, expanding. And as I put my hands on her, I just allowed that network to go out to all her versions, all dimensions, timelines and everything. And it was really, really cool. It's almost like using that, the picture, the concept, to work with your precogs. peacock and the hubs of interconnectivity and everything. So anyway, inviting those beings that are dreaming in the 7/8 colored here. Martina, are you linking the book? No. That's the mushroom book. No, not. I'll be shocked if I do. No. Start dreaming with those mushrooms, fungi, bacteria, and see what happens. I think we
So
could.
Martina, the synchronicity of that, as I was just smiling as I was listening to you talk, because I've been experiencing that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, but in my meditative experiences, I don't want to go too far into it because it's long, but mycelium, almost like a spiritual mycelium, forming all over and all around the body. Yeah, mycelium is the only way I could really explain it. It's funny that you say that.
It's
So
so.
I've been just closeted. I've really been just locked away and closeted for a few weeks now. And yeah, it's funny that you would say that.
Amazing how these synchronicities are happening, isn't it? And I know this book, I didn't even look. I just saw it. Okay, bye. And it's written by a biologist, yeah? But he's got a very interesting way of writing. So he's taking the bigger picture into brings it into the perspective and everything. And I remember Andrew talking about Mushroom Kingdom and everything many years ago. And I thought, yeah, okay, whatever. And all of a sudden, mushrooms! Even made a mushroom soup yesterday. Got myself different mushrooms. I thought I have to ingest it now. Give them a experience, remember?
Have you ever tried to grow mycelium, Martina?
To what?
Have you ever tried to grow any form of mycelium?
Grow.
Grow.
Well, my stone figures are growing it for me.
Yeah, it's a really difficult process. I've tried to grow the magic mushrooms quite a few times, and it's a process of you get a substrate and you inject the spores into it, and then the mycelium starts to slowly populate. It's incredible to watch. It's so amazing, but I always get bacteria. And I've tried for about a decade now to grow mushrooms and still haven't managed to get any fruiting mushrooms of all different varieties and types.
Oh, that's interesting. Maybe that book would be good to look at. I mean, it's what I love about them. They talk about the symbiosis. It's like, and it's quite interesting because we talk about boundaries, individuality, and all of that. And then we look at the mycelium network, which actually almost like lichen, for instance, is a mix between algae and fungi. So it's like they are together creating something beyond what they couldn't create by themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I love that because that's what I always looked at relationships like that. What's the point of being with somebody in a relationship if you're all the same? Yeah, it might be comfortable and nice, but what if you could have two people, individuals, and then together they can create something they couldn't create by themselves on their own?
Yeah, just like the fungal world. I spent a while learning to forage around here. I am in Hertfordshire. There's lots of countryside, and I can get to go out and at certain times of the year. Mushrooms are my favorite to look for because there are certain mushrooms that will only grow with certain types of trees, or in certain types of conditions, certain dead trees, certain live trees, certain root systems, and it's fascinating. It's just there's so many of them out there, and they all have their own unique symbiotic relationship with the rest of the nature around them. They're a wonderful example of co-creation.
And they all communicate with each other. If something happens to that one mushroom over there, not mushroom, that mycelium, what's it called? Hyphal. This is completely new words. I have to write them down. I think it's hyphal tip, the tip of that worm, if you want to call it that. If something happens there, like if you prick it with something, the entire network will perceive it and adjust. So it's a different way that's not empathy the way we talk about. That's actually oneness, creating together in a symbiosis.
Unity.
Yeah. So it's a different level of creation, which, you know, I'm only halfway or through the book. So, but it's quite interesting that.
Hi. I just wanted to share because Maddie shared about the synchronicity.
Yes.
This is Marissa, by the way. And I just had a recent synchronicity with the mycelium concept too, and noticing certain alignments that are happening in life, let's say connections that are happening. And then I was like, oh, I feel like the mycelium is working through me, and like how that mycelium connects to this all underground. It's like happening in real life through me, but through the mycelium, which I felt was pretty cool. And just since Maddie mentioned it, it just kind of felt another synchronicity that was worth mentioning.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you. I love that. I love that. It's so cool. And of course that goes, you know, multidimensional, you know. And this is where, you know, we can also, you know, all these versions of ourselves on other worlds, we can communicate with them. And
Galactic mycelium, huh? We'll have to run that past Andrew.
mycelium.
Galactic mycelium.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Different level of looking at celestial mediumship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also the other thing I've started to acknowledge even a bit more is, you know, looking at extra dimensionals. You know, I've looked up the definition again of extra dimensionals versus extraterrestrials. And extra dimensionals being obviously beings that have lived on this earth before. So beings that have gone through the birthing process, beings that have gone through the dreaming process and everything, and they might be now living on different planets, you know, and work, well, choosing to live there instead of on Earth. And when we look at the celestial mediumship, we are extra dimensionals on these other worlds, right? Because we're literally living on these other worlds simultaneously. And in the dream time, through the singularity, it's probably easier to comprehend that at stages. But I think we're all getting to that stage where we can start almost recognizing that on some level during our awake time here. Have you had anything along those lines? Yeah.
I've had a lot of experience with that lately, and it seems like especially more since this eclipse cycle, kind of ramping up to the solstice. I've been sitting in this device called the harmonic egg, which is a bioresonant energetic chamber based on Atlantean technology. And it's really kind of interesting because it really kind of brings you into that theta state, or for me it does that. And I find that it's been really opening up those channels of communication to my multi-dimensional beingness, and has kind of given me a greater awareness with the beings that I'm working with, and on a number of different planetary systems and a number of different levels.
Fantastic. That is so cool. Anyone else having more?
I'll chime in, because I've been the big process of loneliness quite a lot of my life. Even though I've had all these experiences, I've always felt quite alone, and still kind of feel a bit of a lone wolf in the way that I practice. But exactly what you were just talking about. But I've realised that they won't step on your journey if they're there to co-create with you in the fifth world of peace. They're not going to step on your journey. And sometimes we're asking for things, we're almost asking for them to step on our journey. You know, we have to show our responsibility, and you know, very much equal co-creation, non-competition, non-hierarchical order, the three whatevers. And you know, but it's not just having them as words, it's actually understanding them and living by that, You know, that's kind of allowed more connection to me with those other versions of myself that are now able to come in and not affect me in a negative way, or me to perceive it in a negative way.
Fantastic.
It's really hard to describe these things, isn't it? You're trying to describe the intangible, you know?
Yeah. But it's okay, because we're expressing that as, you know, through our frequencies anyway. You know, I think words are no longer that important. I used to be hung up on words a lot. But now it's like, no, you just that.
You do the best you can. You do the best you can, and people can perceive it the best way they can. And that's as much as we can do at the moment.
Yes.
Until we've unpacked the 1 million letter alphabet, letter alphabet, like Andrew does.
Matthew, I wanted to say that I really don't understand your accent, but I know everything you're saying.
Yeah.
It's because the teachings, they speak for themselves. You know, I love speaking to people who've studied Andrew's material, because, you know, there's a shortcut to understanding. There's a shortcut to the things you want to say. You know, with people that don't have the linguistics that Andrew's taught, you have to go all around and around and around to get your point across. Or you use these words and it just goes over their head.
I think as soon
that's one thing I really love about these meetings, because like never perceived we can have like a group of meeting of all these higher intellectual people that I can't nowhere in my reality nearby me I can like embrace that, but like here I can. And I really appreciate all of y'all here. It's just magical, you know.
It's you know, Alfredo, it's interesting because lots of people are hiding behind words. And we all have done it, and we'll still do it, I suppose. But, you know, I think with the level of when the judgment goes, the ego starts mellowing. I mean, we do need the ego, obviously, you know, we need to focus and everything, but we're saying more for saying, when we're saying nothing at time. I often have to remind myself, talk less. Less is best. Talk less.
Been going that route. I just don't want to like go out of my way to have excessive conversations. Like, this is where I'm at. This is where I stand. When I come to I love my level. Like, I'm happy to enjoy it, but I'm not gonna go down to like the other lower levels. You know, meet me where I'm at. And it's higher like growing experience.
And then
a lot of
the master, the master in us also. Oh, sorry, buddy.
I don't know. It's kind of like a similar like. Feel like what you're saying, Mitch. The lone wolf, like being that strong lone wolf, and people come to you like join the pack, and they'll come up with. Anyways, go ahead.
And the thing is, isn't it, that because I sometimes I have issues with that as well, you know. But I think part of the mastery is to be able to meet people where they are too, and still do it in equal co-creation, non-competition, non-hierarchical order. You know. The need, you know, what is the need to have somebody intellectually meet you? What is that need? That must be egoically based. You're needing to be stroked. This is something that I've been going through recently as well. You know, it's just you know, letting go of the ego, man, because it can get into everything. It's like a dog that needs to be tied up in the corner and, you know, taught its place. You know.
We touched on that last time, I think, a little bit. We're saying, you know, being seen and seeing people, truly seeing someone, you know,
wherever they are,
and you know, you're not doing them a kindness to present a solution they're not ready for. You basically just overwriting them and being a superior bitch or bastard. And you know, this is a tough one, because nobody really. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I think we all come from this place of kindness. And when we know something, we've learned something, we want to share it because we think everyone else is interested and it could, you know, create a difference. I've done this for a long time, until I realized that how annoying I was to people.
How many people have you given the revocations to and they haven't seen the genius behind it? Many in my case.
Many have too, though.
Have they really? See, it's slim pickings around here where I am.
I think, you know, Martina, you were talking about hiding behind words, right? And I think people hide behind an image or a name also. I had an interesting conversation with one of my clients yesterday who had changed her name, but now she's, kind of like, is that my name? What actually, is my name, right? And just kind of along that same lines, I saw a quote by Steve Jobs the other day, which was, "Life is short. Don't spend it living someone else's life." So I've been thinking about that, the way that we come forward in authenticity, right? Being who we are and holding space for other people to be who they are too. There's so much pressure from the global narrative and from, family and society and all of these different things that kind of put us in a box of expectation.
Absolutely.
So to break out of that is it takes mindfulness, and it's challenging for all of us.
And in any kind of definition, it's just so limiting. We don't we misidentify the definition thing, and in business it's so indoctrinated in one. If you're a business owner, you have to, in 60 seconds, when you go to this networking meetings, in 60 seconds tell me what you do and who you are. Excuse me. And you try to put yourself in there, and the best ones that came to networking sessions were those that have never stood up before, and they were shaking like this because they didn't know what to say. They stood up, some cried, some were shaking, those were the best. Love them, because they were true, they were authentic, not the ones that rattled off the 60 seconds.
The narcissist loving it.
But I did it myself because I thought I had to, because you had to define yourself. Otherwise, how would people find you in those days, right? You need to know what are you giving to people? Put yourself in their shoes. What is all this bullshit? Put yourself in other people's shoes? No, get out of my fucking shoes. Yeah, it's like, whoa. So I've gone all of that, turned it upside down. And then, I remember my last networking session, I stood up and I said, look, guys, I got nothing. I got nothing to give you. I need nothing from you guys, so let's just have some fun. Sat down. Nobody talked to me after that. That was my last session. Never went back. Literally, they got so scared because I was just totally brutally honest. I said, I don't really need you. So I need you guys, otherwise my business is gonna die. You don't really need me. You can find somebody else. It's just been, but that's fun too. It's a bit of a shocker when you shock people with your authenticity. I think that's the new thing. Shock people with your authenticity.
I think it's lovely to be our authentic selves, but some friends of mine, or a particular one, I feel like he represents the shadow aspect of myself, in the sense that he's sometimes sharing what's true for him, and very going into, let's say, conspiracy stories that it's like repeatedly, kind of like, who wants to hear it? Sometimes like he's not feeling out who's like if people are ready to receive what he's sharing. But in that, I feel like it reminds me to notice, hey, when you want to share something, make sure you're checking in, see if people are ready to receive what you have to offer, versus just throwing it out and seeing this person just do it so not right, I guess, or not aligned to myself. It makes me pay attention to myself and notice when I might be doing the same thing.
Oh, totally. Yeah, totally.
Everyone's a teacher.
Everyone's a teacher, and I love contrast. If I have a choice between people, I'd always go for the contrast, because there's something to learn. we used to have lots of parties in our house here, and I heard, you know, up to 100 people. I had no idea who these people were. They came from the industry. I didn't ask where they were, and they rocked up and thinking, how are you? And you have a conversation, and some people you didn't even talk to the whole evening. And there's the one thing I've always done. I've never understood when people invite other people, they're trying to match them if they work together. It's like, what is this, fucking kindergarten? You know, let them get on with it. And if they don't get on with it, at least we have some fun. Let them fight. You know, I love all these different, you know, this is probably why I live in London, because you've got this amazing hub of different nationalities and everything, you know, loving it.
Martina, the energies have been very potent and very positive for all of us. I'm just wondering, can you sense or can you intuit what the energies are doing to the people in Inner Earth? Are you sensing anything?
Are you?
No, I'm more concerned about myself. And all of my
Well, if you're more concerned about yourself, you're obviously also more, you're also concerned about the Inner Earth then, because remember, we pretty much every single one of us here is part of the resistance-free Earth, right?
Yeah. It's simmering up like a boiling pot, is what they're saying. It's simmering.
It's, I would almost say the way I look at it now is what happens here happens down there too. All the shit that's hitting the fan out here, it's hitting down there too. Personally, I couldn't give you any particular thing what the Greys are doing. What is it? You know, I don't know. I don't know that either, but I think it's all happening on all the different levels. And I also perceive that more and more support is coming in from the outside since the quarantine has been lifted. You know, there is just so much energy coming in, and there is tremendous amount of support out there, and we are all on the right track. It's getting more and more exciting, and I think
is there more communication going on, maybe in the dream world or in some meditative states?
I can only speak for myself. And you know, for me, it's like I talk to them continuously. It's very much like I'm talking to the cat, you know, I'm talking to, when I walk into my studio, that's the hub there, you know, it's like, what do you know? Do you know? It's, we all know ourselves. I mean, I could, when I do my dreams, I continuously meet them, you know, but it's almost like having a chat with you guys.
Well, you are well connected to the Inner Earth. You're one of the ambassadors. And,
well, that doesn't mean anything, because we all are.
Yeah, we all have versions of ourselves. So
down there. And yeah. I think the difference is, and this is why I don't want to even, you know, I don't channel, or, you know, I don't do any of that really, because we're all doing it. Just don't make it significant. Just have a chat with them.
You know, where I see it.
Yeah, Amy.
Where I see it, where I've been noticing, Alan, I don't know if this helps, but I see faces and things now. And I talk to the face, whatever I'm seeing, and they, you know, maybe a word or two, but that's it. Like, so it's just opening up that little awareness of these people. To me, it's just the faces. Whether it could be anywhere.
Yeah. I mean,
carpet.
The dreams that I'm having, I don't know these people from this world, so they must be from other worlds. For me, this is, it is what it is, that, so I wouldn't know. I wouldn't be able to say anything on that.
I just love the new energies that we're co-creating in, and I just expect more and more of those species and beings to be part and parcel of that. Yeah. It's just ever expanding, and it's wonderful. And Amy, I am getting some of those imageries too as well. So I do agree with you, and it's wonderful to see some of that intuition just building up. It's somewhat fragmentary, but it's things that I never had before. So I am allowing it and expanding with it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I have fun with it. I have fun with it. I have fun. I have fun seeing the faces.
I find that for myself, the communication, the higher frequency psychic communication, for me is usually like with my team or with the teams that I'm working with in those multidimensional beingness. But when I'm working with people, then I'll have all kinds of communications with, beings in their ancestral lineage or like spirits that are attached to them or bound to them in some way, their past lifetime selves or wounded child self. I get a lot of those kind of communications, yeah, from people.
And I think also as one develops in these kind of communications, it kind of amalgamizes itself anyway, because sometimes you could be just hearing one frequency, one voice, if you wish, but it's actually an amalgamation of thousands of beings, all under the communion of your higher self. Hello, hello. Anyone else out there?
We're just having a little integration. Yeah. The pause. Remember, we don't have to just talk all the time. It's a very chilled session today, don't you find?
Yeah.
I'm liking it. So what are we doing with all of that? Oh, Alfredo, yes.
I was saying it's like a good vibe session.
Yeah. I didn't want to. I would like to do maybe next time, if you guys are ready. I've got a dear friend who is not doing so well at the moment. And I'd like to do a healing session for her. How could we do that on this Earth Nouveau? She won't be able to come on, but we can, obviously I'm going to tell her that we're doing it. But what would be a nice way of doing it as a group? I'd like to do it as a group. Maybe play some, yeah, Reiki. Maybe I was thinking to do a little prayer maybe in the beginning. And then just put some music on and we take our pictures off. And then every single one does his or her own thing. And we're just going to bombard her with that. We don't need to know what each one is doing. And again, that was actually in the book. It was, I don't know if you ever heard of that. It's an African thing. Grandmothers picking mushrooms. Have you heard of that? I will have to post it in the hub. It's quite interesting. It's on YouTube. I checked it out. And it's like women going to pick mushroom and they're all singing. And every single one picks their own mushrooms on their own path, and sings their own song. And as in the beginning, it's a bit chaotic, but then it all comes together as one. And I thought if we have that maybe as a setup, and we could do that, just play some music and then do that for her and send that. Yeah. Would you be up for that? And you just do whatever. You look, every single one of you guys, of us here is a healer anyway, so you can choose whatever you want. You can use your fingers. She will give permission. Yes, she has already given permission. So I just didn't set it up for today for some reason. But we can do it next week. If you guys are up for it, then I'd like to do that.
Sure.
Martina, could you ask your friend if she will be okay to tell me what's her place of birth?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. She's from Austria. Yes. I will find out. Fantastic.
I'm wondering if perhaps various of us have like somebody who's healing or needs some kind of issue. Let's say I have a cousin who's in surgery today. And like maybe just, but making sure people have given permission and consent. And if we have like a list of, let's say our loved ones who have given permission, and then doing it as a collective, and then for anyone else in their shoes who is agreeing to receive, perhaps, or well, without, you know, making sure we're not stepping on any, crossing any boundaries that we're not supposed to.
The problem lies in it's a hub of interconnectivity. So any once you psychically link like that, then any entities or anything that anybody carries has free reign amongst them, because their thought forms they can travel through thought, you know. So
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, whenever you're doing anything like that, it's always best to have, you know, many layers of spiritual hygiene behind it. I know Martina knows this, friend. So I think the correct prayer process before we do it. But the more people you include, it just gets a little bit muddy. Does that make sense?
Thank you for that reminder. Yes, I remember hearing that spiritual hygiene thing and then the whole thing. Thank you.
It's a gray area.
It's a gray area. So I'm not for global meditations and any of that. But when I look at you guys, I mean, I've known you guys. We've been together in this hub for long enough. So, you know, I would be happy with that group to do something along those lines. And we have enough sovereignty amongst us to create that. And it's just a choice if anyone wants to or not. We don't have to do it, but you know, just one of those things. But Marissa, I think what you said is to add other people, make a list and make it a global one for other people at the same time. Is that, did I understand?
Not a global one, but let's say if we have particular loved ones who have expressed consent to receive healing or prayers, you know, let's say I have a particular one too. So if somebody within our circle, a small circle, will have that desire to include them when we're doing that healing.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, absolutely. So
Martina, what if we include before you start the prayer, a revocation, a general revocation on behalf of that person?
That would be my kind of prayer. That's how I pray. I would be doing a revocation on her behalf.
Right.
The permission in addition to hers already. Yeah, that's pretty much what I would probably put together.
That would kick out any entity that's might be surrounding that individual or entities.
Yeah.
That would try to stick around or fight back, you know, to remain with her.
I don't want to put anyone on the spot yet. You know, if you guys don't want to, just let me know. But we could do that next week.
Yeah.
Now, with us being so chilled and non-judgment and this and that, what are we going to do with all of that? What are we going to create with that?
Fifth world of peace.
Yeah, okay, so let's drill down on that a little bit. I was just thinking, there's a task requirement. When I used to do sessions 4 years ago, I gave them a task. Let's just run that task and see if there's something pops for you guys, okay? So the first question was, I would like you to spend a few minutes writing down 5 things you always wanted to do, but just think of one, just for fun, so that, you know, let's create something with this class here, show, hub. So think of something that you've always wanted to do, but haven't got around to do so far, or you've dismissed it as impossible. I'll do this myself, actually. Just one thing. And, you know, sometimes the first thing that comes to mind is probably the best. You got it? And let's call this a goal, yeah, or a vision, or, you know, desire, ask, whatever you want to call it. And then just think of maybe 2 or 3 reasons why you haven't managed it so far in the old energies. The old yous hadn't managed that. And now in these new energies, but just think of that or write that down. Why haven't you actually, without judgment, obviously, why has it not happened? And then think of a couple of things that, how would your life be different if you would be doing it now, if you would start implementing those tasks, desires, asks now? And can you perceive that, you know, that you, in these new energies we were talking about, that these things, whatever you've come up with, are going to be so much easier? And then even if you can't really, if there's no specific, which for me, it's like, I'm still not getting a specific up. I just get the energy of it. And that's okay too. Don't limit that. Just work with the energy. And then on a daily basis, when you get up in the morning or whatever, it's just ask, is now time to do something about this? What do I need to be and do today in order to create that energy, in order to follow that energy? And then really, any action that comes in, don't use your cognitive mind so much at the moment, because we're working a lot. You know, if you look at this astrology at the moment, they all talk about, there's a lot of Jupiter, a lot of spiritual transformation. We got to start really trusting this heart business, this heart. And just looking at the energy, is this energy compatible with that energy that I'm actually looking for? You know? And then just really, it's vague. Allow yourself to be vague like that, because the vagueness itself is the non-limitation. Does anyone want to say something to that? Future is not a place we're going, it's one we are creating.
It's funny, Martina, because what I initially thought of changed as I got halfway through. Once you change the frequency a little bit, I saw that actually I'm already moving towards it, but in a different way to what I thought I would be, without using the cognitive mind and the narrative and the way that tradition teaches you to go to that certain direction. There was a more internal self-mastery aspect to it.
Fabulous. I find it really useful not to get hung up on a definition of it.
Details.
Conclusion. Go with the flow. And that doesn't mean that you don't take action. You know when that energy is right, and it might not be cognitively right. You just know, you push the button, you do whatever it takes, you know, and you might not even know where exactly it's going to lead you, but it just feels right. Do you know that feeling where it just feels right? I think this is the message today. Just go with what feels, isn't it? It's a different kind of feeling. It's not the old empathy feeling, you know, feeling everyone else's pain and bullshit and reality and pathways and taking it on. No, it's that deeper inner trust and that heart thingy I'm working on too. It's not my forte, to be honest. Or I'm doing it, and don't get hung up on this, because that's what happens to me often. I always work backwards because I do so many things naturally and don't actually acknowledge it. I think I'm not doing it until I realize, oh shit, oh that, well, I've always been doing that. Well, that, yeah, that, yeah. And I'm sure you guys do a lot of that too.
Now you get to do it with intention behind it.
Yeah, just acknowledging. It's a really cool question. What am I not acknowledging here? When you get into a groove, what is it that I'm not acknowledging here? It's a great question. Because, you know, so many things we're doing naturally. And I think this is the new learning, actually, for me too. If what I'm looking at is like with the switching on of those technologies now, the DNA and everything, there's so many things we just do. And because we're also allowing it more, we're allowing ourselves more to be outside of the comfort zone and outside of the box and everything. Things are just going to happen. And we have to work backwards. Oh, what did I just do? Why did I do this? Oh, you know, without judging. I think that's a big one there. Back up to see the bigger picture. Absolutely. Heart thingy. Yeah. I'm working with that. I had a lunch today, a very dear friend of mine, and I haven't seen him for 2 years, I think. And he brought me 12 presents. Every single one wrapped. And I'm like, are you crazy? Whoa, this must have been. And it was like little funny bits and pieces, but I was like, wow, somebody taking the time to wrap 12.
That's a very feminine thing to do.
I know.
Yeah.
I felt really seen again. It's like, wow. little stuff like that. This is the simplicity matter you were talking at as well, isn't it? Going back to, wow, just so nice. To be honest, guys, I've got nothing else to say. Have you got stuff to say?
I was just thinking of something funny as you were saying the 12 presents, and I'm thinking, well, maybe that person has 12 pieces of karma to clear up with you.
You say that you laugh, but you know, it's funny because in these small moments, something big happens, and we get those little small gestures that change something in our consciousness. And this is also, I've seen this on the negative side, where things have gone wrong, or what I would consider to be not a good situation, but so much remedy comes out of it. It's like, this is resolution day to day.
You're absolutely right. And it's very interesting because this gentleman, I met him at networking, and we don't normally talk. We just meet for lunch, once in a blue moon. And there's always something we have elevated towards the next level. And I think today was all about heart opening, because I was working on this and he's working on this. And then he gives me those 12 little presents, and I'm like, wow, so nice. And 12 is my birth number as well. So I thought, so nice. Anyway.
Well, think about that. Think about that for a minute. Why, when a person would give you a present, it would be a single present, right? Mm-hmm. Why would he bring you 12? That's an unusual amount of presents, whether it's large or small, it doesn't matter. It's the number 12. Why would he bring you so many? And it's not a baker's dozen either.
Yeah, 13 would be an interesting number, actually. If someone gave you 13 gifts, that's an unusual spell.
Yeah, maybe there's one more coming.
No, 12 is the number of guys.
What 12. A great lesson in receiving.
Oh, thank you for that, because that has been my life lesson all along, to receive from people. Absolutely. And when I said 12 present, thinking 12, why 12? Immediately, it's the number of completion for me. And that's exactly what my dream was all about, completion, you know? And I've also, this is the one thing I've realized, I'm a catalyst. I'm a catalyst for change. So I go where people need me. And then the catalyst doesn't change necessarily by infiltrating, but it creates a transformation, a change. And then once I'm done with this, I move on, I go to the next. And that's where my three-year cycles come in. And that's why I do different things all the time, you know? So this is for me personally, and that's maybe something, you know, to look at. There's some more clarity who I am. That's been coming through. I am a catalyst for change. And once I've created the change, I move on.
And Martina, my guides, well, I say my guide is usually future self these days, but they said a chariot of resolution. So it's kind of similar to what you're saying, but they said, consider yourself a chariot of resolution. So it's like everything we're doing is resolving on all lineages, ancestry, DNA lineage, off-world, celestial.
Fantastic. And this is why for me, that need for freedom has come in. My daughter said the other day, she's going to move out. And I'm like, when she said that, I'm like, what? Fantastic. Where are the boxes? I'm going to put the boxes together, you know. I'm going to pack the house. I'm going to sell the house. I'm going to start traveling. And it was like, whoa, where does that come from? I didn't even think of that before. I never wanted to. And it's so interesting when somebody says that, you realize how you're still holding on to certain things. It's like, think of waking up in a hospital and you've lost all your thing. What would you do? I don't think I would be sitting here in London in this house, you know, and things like that. It's just amazing. It just made me realize that freedom.
So Martina, so the person gave you 12 pieces of presents, and the 13 part of the present is the individual himself or herself. That makes up the 13, number 13, and 13 is a great number.
No,
so
definitely a gift. You know,
probably 2 cycles are being completed: the 12th cycle and the 13th cycle. Think about it that way.
13 always represents change for me.
I have huge change coming. I can feel it.
Perhaps it was just to share with you that it doesn't necessarily need to be a gift, a big gift, but just like the joy of opening something that's unknown. So just all this opportunity to discover and unravel. And
Marissa, you know what I think for me was why I was so touched is somebody took the time to wrap 12 presents for me. Yeah, it obviously shows where I come from. Yeah. That and I suppose a couple of years or months ago I would have probably bursted to tears because, you know, receiving that, but it's just really nice. It was really that wow, you know. And I think Tanya, you said it's that receiving, because I think this is so underrated. If we can start receiving, anything is possible. Money.
So I just thought of something else too, Martina. What if this individual is coming to you as a healer, indirectly, but this person is trying to be tidy. So he took the time to wrap 12 presents to prove to himself, I am becoming a more tidy individual, more orderly, or whatever that form of tidiness is. Maybe it's him that he's healing.
But now you're taking it away from me, Lana.
Sorry.
We're doing readings on Martina now, are we? My reading would be that Martina needs to start maybe giving gifts to herself, making the most of her abundance, huh?
Yes.
Life gifts.
Yes. But you see, I'm doing that anyway. But
I feel
there's more work to be done for all of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
But you know what? If we would know what it is, we would be giving it to us. I think it's sometimes what the hell is it that we require?
Experience.
Huh?
It's experience. It's experiences, life.
Yeah.
You know, not trying to wait for some rainy day or anything like that. Just living.
Just living, absolutely. And what does it, what, you know, really asking the question for every single one of us, you know, what is it that that creates the most for us, you know? And it could be just being of service, you know? That could be, you know, the gift is in the receiving, the gift is in the giving. The gift is, what's that thing? What's the gift? You're giving and you're receiving at the same time, right? It's
The gift
that.
of giving. The gift of giving.
Also, I noticed,
And yeah, but also like even within healing, you know, you always get when you give a healing, you receive one back. It's the universal law. It's giving and receiving almost the same thing.
Yeah. Fantastic.
I felt the heart opening when you said receiving, Martina. What would it take for me to fully receive it now?
Very good question. What does that look like? What does that feel like? What does that smell like, taste like? All of that. It's really, if you think about it from a spiritual perspective, that we are already the masters. Everything is available. All the possibilities are there. It's just the point of view, the conclusions that we're coming from, the old conditioning that don't allow us to receive.
Choice.
And the choice, you know, is just choosing it. Just say, okay, let's make all a collective choice now. From now on, we're gonna receive without limits. And that includes the good, the bad, the ugly, the sad. Can't say, oh, I'm not. No, we have to receive everything without a point of view, without a conclusion, without going into meltdowns and, you know, stuff like that. Infinite boxes open, Alan. Yes, boxes just disappearing. Fuck the boxes. Let's get rid of them. Mycelial network. Yeah. It only works when everyone has full 100% sovereignty. No judgment. And what's the antidote we always say of judgment? Gratitude. And taking the body with us. Allowing it to cry, allowing it to scream, allowing it to do anything it wants to.
Like the saying goes, gratitude is attitude.
Gratitude.
It's a new attitude.
Mm-hmm.
You practice gratitude. It's your attitude that you're creating to be grateful for whatever is coming to you all the time.
And practicing a simple thank you. Just thank you.
Yes. You start with simple thank you and then you shift it to the heart space thank you.
Yeah.
Where you can really feel it and not just saying it, you know, in words that
Thank
really don't have anything backing it up.
Or no thank you.
That's
You.
easy. That's easy to say. No, thank you. No, thank you. I don't want this. I don't want that.
Is it that easy?
But being grateful is harder, you know, when you're not practicing being grateful for what you have already received or is receiving. Think about that. It's hard for some people to just say thank you.
And that's why we need to practice it, because there's always like, oh, no, it's okay. And it wasn't really so. No justification. Get out of justification. There's no need to explain, no need to justify anything. No, thank you. But why? It just doesn't work for me. That's it. It's not going to be received with ease, tell you that, at times. People want to dig down there and they want to help you. Oh, what's wrong with you? And you're not like this normally. And well, now I'm like that. It's so crazy, isn't it? Anyone else who just wants to throw some stuff into this chilled conversation?
Oh, well, I always, when I thought of your 12 gifts, I thought of the childlike in you. You know, the way children open gifts is, I love watching them open gifts. You know, it's that, it just felt childlike to me, and to get back to that feeling of that innocence.
Yeah. Playfulness and childlike, yeah. It's often not so easy. I've always had difficulties with that because I don't think I've ever really done that. That has never been an easy one for me. If I think back, my easiest time, my most fun time was between 27 and 30. No, that doesn't mean that it's not fun now. It's totally different. But when I think back, that where I consider myself, I was, for the first time, I allowed myself to be a child. So find the right age. That's my, who's making these noises? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's the old question.
Yeah.
What is playfulness and all of that? But yeah, no, and we have to practice that. Jesus, big time. And find people who actually,
Yeah, like playing a sandbox.
yeah. And I think we've all become quite good in playing with ourselves, right? By ourselves, rather, to say it correctly.
I'm an expert in playing myself. Yeah.
You were talking to your loner. Jesus, I can having so much fun talking to myself.
That's it.
Dancing with myself.
Yeah.
But it's also, but I'm good with people too. But I think there's a thing one needs to look at. How much time do you need to spend with people, and then how do you regenerate? And it's not that I'm losing energy, but I do need a lot of quiet time where I just do my thing.
I find if I'm just super polite to everybody, then the day's always good. Always. Doesn't matter who I've got to talk to. I'm just always super polite. Seems to work for me. Never really have any bad interactions with people.
Okay.
I think people just, they just want to be seen, right?
Yeah.
Just cruising to life.
And even an angry person, unless you reflect that back to them, it's not going to affect you. It's a non-judgment, isn't it?
I don't even meet angry people anymore.
No, I mean not neither really. Not really.
Boring. I don't meet any. I want a couple of flippant people, where I can do my. It's just everybody's so chilled.
Hang about King's Cross for a little while, Martina.
Huh?
Go drinking go down King's Cross and just hang around there for a while.
Okay,
in
maybe.
the evening.
I'm not going. Yeah, but I used to have a lot of people come to me, needing stuff, but now it's like nobody needs me anymore. And it's like, okay, great. That's fantastic.
Time to treat yourself.
That image of Mikao Yusui after he was attuned to Reiki by his universal meditation, and he would stand in the square with a lit torch during the daytime. And when people would say, "Why are you standing there with a lit torch during the daytime? You don't need that." And he would say, "I'm looking for people who want to improve themselves." And so I like this idea of standing at the King's Cross, right, with a lit torch, or, whatever today's equivalent would be.
Well, here you go. And it was one of my presents. I had a candle. I can use the candle. Fantastic. Yeah. No, it's interesting. It's interesting. Open box conversation. Absolutely box open.
Maybe Tanya, it's what the Statue of Liberty woman is waiting for. She's holding her lit torch all day long, night and day.
Calling us all back to binding. Yeah. This idea of, you know, the mycelium network, right? It also is in the tree roots that have their neural network, you know, all through each continent. But I really find it also in the crystal network. So when you're working with crystals, you have that kind of interconnectivity. And this guy just wanted to say hi to y'all.
Oh, hello, beauty. Beautiful.
The little Arkansas.
Very. Oh.
So now you have that crystal connection to this crystal.
And you know what, guys? Thanks, Tanya, because it's that easy. It's that we're just all connected and that's it. It's that easy. And that's why I think, you know, because we've made things so difficult, you know, and now we know it's so much more ease. Let's call it ease rather than easy. That's why all of a sudden we've got all this, the chill factors, like, okay, cool. What's next? You know, that's just, who else can we meet, right? We just met a beautiful crystal. Sorry, who wanted to say something?
No, sorry, it was me, but it was quite somber, so it doesn't matter.
Well, it fits perfectly to today's session.
I was remembering something that Andrew had talked about, a particular tree that was growing in I don't remember much about it, but I think it was in South America, in the Amazon or something like that, where I think it was a brand new species that came in and grounded itself there and is spreading the root system out. Does anybody remember this?
I do. I think it's there is a group of trees. That's one group of trees, but didn't he say, wasn't it a fungus? It's the largest actual individuated being on the planet. One
Right,
fungus that spreads over miles and miles and miles and miles, but it's one individuated being.
Yes, you're correct. That's what it was he was talking about, and I found that quite interesting. That was a new species, isn't that right, Maddie?
I can't remember. I just remember those basic facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing, looking out for new species, because, you know, we'll be meeting more and more.
New species have been appearing quite often of late. They've been discovering or rediscovering things that have gone extinct. But we know that extinct species, they're all living in the earth. So maybe they're coming back up now.
Mm-hmm.
They're showing themselves again.
That's right.
Because they never really went away. And maybe that's part of the inner earth beings that we hear about all the time. Because it doesn't matter the physical skin suit that they're wearing, but they're part of that network of the inner earth species.
Exactly.
It would be interesting if we see a dinosaur one day walking around.
Oh man, I'd love that. I would love that.
Well, the Sasquatches are coming out. Sasquatch? What? Sasquatch? Those guys they're coming out quite a bit, I've been hearing. And they're finding all sorts of new things. It's going to be so exciting, guys. We'll have a lot to talk about.
Tell you one thing that you don't expect though, when in those kind of interactions, if you were just walking around and a spaceship landed in front of you and an extraterrestrial got out, how do you think that you would react?
I'll be cool.
Do you know what?
I'll be
your
very
heart
excited.
your heart starts to race, and the fabric of your reality and what you thought is real starts to slip away, and it's the most intense panic you've ever felt in your life. And I know lots of people that have this. You're not expecting it. That's why self-mastery is the only road to contact. Because if you were walking through the woods and the Bigfoot just walked out in front of you, I'm telling you now, you'd shit yourself. You would.
I
Yeah.
think the Sasquatch are incarnating too. The Sasquatch souls are incarnating in a lot of people right now.
Mm-hmm. Positive and negative.
Human people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all part of the excitement. Bring it on, I say. Even if I fall over the first time, I'll get up.
Mm-hmm. That's how you learn.
Sorry, just shat myself. Sorry, I'm back. Let's talk.
That's it. That's it. And you know, and then you might wait another year or two for another chance. And that whole time you're like, right, this time I'm going to do it differently. This time I'm going to do it differently.
Well, I think it's if the spaceship just suddenly lands in front of you or behind you, and you turn around and you see it, of course you'll go into like this heart racing moment. But once you get over that moment, you'll be like, cool, nice to meet you, welcome to Earth, whatever.
It's trippy. It's trippy.
Yeah.
It's like being in a dream, and they move in between the dimensions as well, so that they defy the law of physics often as well. And the conversations are mostly there to teach you, not to just say blah 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 blah. It's confusing sometimes, you know. You've really got to take away one sentence and just pick it to pieces. It's so different to what you expect. It really does come with responsibility. I don't have quite that responsibility just yet, I can tell you that.
Well, this is I that's what I'm working towards, to be honest. That is my next step to a certain extent. I do want to be more able to communicate on that level, you know.
It takes training. Yeah.
You know, to be honest, that's my next thing, to understand them a bit better, to understand their cultures. And you know, there's still a lack of understanding, or whatever you want to call it. Mastery. I'm an adventurer. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We're all adventurers. Now, Nicole is saying the Dark Crystal series, Tanya, because you showed us your crystal. The Dark Crystal series on Netflix. If
it was amazing.
I don't think I've seen it. Is it still on?
Yeah, it'll still be there. Have you seen the first one, the original Dark Crystal, the film, the Jim Henson one?
No.
Oh, well, you must watch that one first. That was a film I used to watch weekly as I was a child. The Dark Crystal, Jim Henson, I think it is. Yeah, the original one. I think that's in the 80s or something, or the 70s. I can't remember.
Oh, thanks for that.
And then they remade it. They've done it new but they've done it all again with puppets again, and it's absolutely fantastic. This is next one is series, so it's a lot longer.
Fantastic.
What I find interesting is this new series that came out called Loki. Anybody watch that yet?
Is this Netflix as well?
Disney Plus.
Disney Plus, yeah.
What's it about?
Loki.
I've seen so much. I never remember.
It's new.
Comic character Loki,
Yeah.
Thor's brother.
Oh right. Oh, Loki. Right. Yeah. No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, you gotta watch it. It's bringing he diverted from the main timeline, like, you know, domination control will try to force you into one single timeline, and he got away from that timeline, so they try to bring him back, and they use this device to, if he gets out of the timeline, it just brings you back right in, you know.
Wow.
The click of a button. And it was quite funny. All at the same time, you know, Loki's funny guy to begin with, so it's taking off from there. So there's only one episode out. This week will be a second one. So, but I like
They
it
love
so
to bring
far.
these up, don't they? These subjects about dimensions and portals and timelines, and it's wonderful to have these sort of stuff within the films and the narrative at the moment. They're really exploring some pretty cool stuff.
Stan Lee was just such a prolific writer, and I think such a clear channel about some of the stuff that was going on galactically and interdimensionally. Yeah.
Yeah, and they mentioned Project Paperclip, don't they, in Captain America? You know, they actually mentioned that in a mainstream movie. So unusual.
Well, and he did so much writing that, you know, he has so much material that, you know, that he wrote and wrote and wrote, was just so prolific that, you know, even since he's passed away, you know, I guess Disney probably owns all of his stuff now, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe more cool stuff.
I watched Sweet Tooth, the hybrid children. So sweet, really sweet. Obviously total bullshit, you know, they're connected to a virus. Did they come because of the virus, or did they create the virus or anything? But it was just so sweet, all these different children, you know, looking like Animal Kingdom, you know, connections. But again, you know, that huge thing, people being afraid of them, you know. So all this, there's a lot of soft disclosure at the moment, isn't there?
Well, I find what is interesting is that the Pentagon is kind of admitting now that the UFO actually does exist out there, but they don't know what it is. And I'm like, yeah, right, okay. Now, it doesn't really phase anybody.
Nobody
We're not
gives a
getting
shit.
the
That's the
reaction.
point.
That's right.
Boring,
We're
and
not-
what else you got?
Nobody gives a shit.
no reaction from anybody about it.
Crazy.
Yeah, I think the movies have released more than the Pentagon is beginning to, you know, leak out.
But it's also the global narrative is getting so boring.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's so boring. There's nothing that is exciting. There's no debate that makes any sense. It's like, now what's his face? Biden is in meeting Putin. Oh, who cares? You know, it's just so a non-event of everything, isn't it? I'd rather
It's a pony show, an absolute pony show, and you can see it for what it is, isn't it? Just boring. Not saying good to happen. I like the alien invasion idea. I thought that was a good one.
Yeah, I'm all
Fake
for
alien invasion. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. I think it's time. I think it's time. A bit of that.
Yeah, man, it's excitement.
Even if we faint, who cares? We will be back. give us a chance.
Well, I'm not scared of aliens. I'm just curious, what do we do when we see them? Because I've seen flying objects numerous times are not ordinary stars. I just wonder, what do I do now? What do I do next?
Well, chat to them. I would say let's. I that's what I would do, Marissa. Just chat to them, just like I chat to you guys. So, what do you know? What can we share? You know, can we work together? What
Yeah.
you know?
Literally carve out some time to kind of introduce yourself like you would in prayer format, and just put it out there into the ethers, and just say, you know, any extraterrestrials that are out there connected to me that wish to communicate, I'm opening up a channel of communication now. In which way that you choose to communicate back to me, I'll be waiting for your answer. Just something simple like that, and then you will just see ships for a little while, and it just builds on from there. But you've got to be, you know, they won't step on your journey. That's the thing.
They don't have to step on my journey, but stand next to me on my journey, so we could actually, you know, start creating together. I want to see some.
I've only ever once had one actually walk up to me in the street and shake my hand and talk to me.
Really?
Yeah. Only once like that. But I've had many interactions with them. But many of the times they have to alter my consciousness, because the way our mind is can be quite damaging to them. And it's been made quite clear that the next time it's on me to meet them. They're not going to do it, you know. So I've got to do the work. But I have had them come up to me, but they don't tell me who they are. That's why I say it's always trippy and cryptic. And you think Andrew's hard to work out. Some of these ETs are next level. Yeah.
Did you guys see the Stardust Ranch video I posted? You know, the Bruce McDonald who wrote this book now. He's written that book with John Edmonds, who owns the ranch in Arizona, and obviously it's a portal there, you know. And this gets me excited. I want to go there. I want to meet them. I'm gonna, you know, and it might be just Yeah, me thinking I could do that. But that's my next level of excitement. And do you know what, guys? This was always my excitement, why I actually found Andrew in the first place. Because I got to a stage where I was doing entities, ghosts, and this and that. And I thought, okay, well, there must be more than that, right? I always wanted the ETs and the EDs and all of that. And now with a better understanding, it would be nice, right?
You know, so they do things like this, Martina. Like I was standing in my house and I had that feeling someone's behind me, you know, and I'll turn around and they'll be there for a flash second and then gone, you know, and it's kind of like, it's like then you feel like the panic or whatever it is that arises, you know, the fear or whatever, and it's almost like you've got to train yourself out of it, because it really will surprise you that your body will go into a state of shock because your reality is just so altered. You know, it's a strange thing. I mean, it's different for everyone, I'm sure. Because some people, they do just walk up to you, and you hear stories, don't you, about people they just literally do walk in your bedroom at night. But
Yeah.
you know, it hasn't happened for me.
Well, I've read books where people were saying, oh, they had conversations with them forever, and then started writing their own books about it and everything. And this hasn't really happened to me, to be honest. I seem to be talking to myself all the time.
Maybe you should try, you know, getting out into the countryside somewhere where it's not such a big deal for them, because I know when they come down here, they kind of, there's like a mist that goes over the street, and yeah, and I think they kind of put everyone into like a hypnotic state, because they've come and, you know, they've left me a gift, just a gift they gave me, and there are many different ways that they'll interact with you, you know. So maybe if you got out into the countryside somewhere and just set the intention.
I think living in London, obviously, you know, in that sacred geometry city like that is obviously also not very conducive.
They can do it, I think, but it's just a little bit tricky.
Yeah. Well, it will all come, I'm sure. And then we'll say, oh, I've been doing this forever. I know it's going to happen that way.
Yeah.
But anyway, guys, well, that was super chilled. It was really nice to be with you. Next time we maybe do something a bit more driven. Focused, I don't know, maybe we'll do the thing, but it was just nice to get together and have a little chat and see where everyone is. Yeah,
Or maybe next week we'll talk about, most of us would have received our book and we can
yes
talk
I got
about
mine already.
You did.
Yeah.
Oh, lucky you.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I went to the UK Amazon, and they gave me next day delivery. Couldn't believe it.
Oh wow.
I just bought it this morning.
But, have you looked at yours? Is yours off on the front as well?
Yeah. Not only is it that, if you look at like your pictures, they're not quite in focus. They're slightly off focus. I was quite surprised, actually.
It's not. The print is not great.
And maybe in the future, when he's super famous, they'll be worth a lot of money.
First print.
Yeah, the first print that had faults on them. We'll get him to sign them, mate, and they'll be worth a million.
I was wanting him to sign mine, but I don't know how that's.
I'm gonna pester him.
Yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't really matter, isn't it? It depends what's in it. So yeah, I'll be very excited to hear what you guys think.
The print is quite faint as well, isn't it, Martina?
It's faint too. I was thinking, because I've got my lenses and everything, maybe I can't see proper, but it is faint.
It's faint, yeah.
And this is why also the pictures are a bit faint. I'm not impressed with the print, but then that's not their fault. It's really Amazon. Every country will be different, because I've seen it with my own books, you know.
Maybe it was on purpose.
It was totally different, you know.
I think that it's they probably didn't think that the book will do very well, so they didn't put any effort into the print, you know.
Maybe some multidimensional entities influencing someone to be a bastard.
I just really think that every country, depending on where it gets printed, I've seen this with my book when I had the color pictures as well, and some of the colors were just awful. So I sent them back. I said, this is bullshit. Same here. Mine were printed up. I ordered them here, obviously, and they were printed in Poland, which means nothing, but they weren't great. This is printed actually in Great Britain for Amazon, but I don't think the quality is that great. And that's not Andrew's or Bruce's fault. That's really Amazon, you know.
So next week when we get our copies here, we'll compare and find out.
Have a look, because that they can still change that, you know, if it's really something, because if this is just the way it's been printed, then it's different. But if it needs to be changed on the site itself, then that obviously can be done, you know, because that's a good thing with Amazon. You can keep changing everything.
Maybe their printer is low on ink.
It might have to do with the way that the text was laid out or the resolution of the images to begin with.
Resolution of the images, that I would definitely say, because, you know, that could the images, yes, but it's not just the images, it's also the print to a certain extent. But hey, you know, will be the hard copy. There will be a hard copy available for sale in the near future. Yes, the hard copy is already out. There's only, I think there was a delay. They said 8-hour delay or something, so that should be out. And then I think there will also be a auditory version, and also an ebook, I think later this year or something. It's all, but you know, Andrew will come on and obviously, you know, say all these things. Fantastic.
Cool.
I'm gonna have to shoot off, guys. I'm gonna have to love her and leave you.
Well, we're all gonna shoot off. So thanks very much for being here.
Thank you.
And we see you next
Thank you.
Bye,
All right.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.